Let's talk about practice. This is probably my favorite subject when it comes to disc dogging. I love the idea that you can go out and actually get better at this sport. So, of course, I love to practice with my dog. That's a lot of fun. But I will usually tell everyone to practice at least 75% of the time without your dog. Because if you get your game down and then insert the dog, you're going to be great. Of course, training your dog is practice in and of itself, and that can sort of happen on the side while you're practicing on all of your stuff. Since we're talking specifically about toss and fetch, it's really important that you put the disc right down the field in the exact right spot. That is what we need to work on the most. So, first step in basically getting your practice act together is start working with a practice notebook or a practice journal. Now, it can be a digital version of that, or it can be an old school, just a practice notebook. Like I will have a notebook like this and put down various notes on things and keep track of my practice sessions. So stuff that you want to write down when you go out and you're going to practice, write down what the conditions were. What kind of a day it was. Was it evening, morning? Write down, of course, the elements. What was the wind doing? That's a big factor, right? And we talk a lot about the wind in this course because most of the time when you're playing in a disc dog competition, you're going to be dealing with some kind of wind. So write that down. What was the wind doing? I make notes on how many discs I threw. What I practiced on. Did I work on my short strategy throw? Was I just throwing long? What kind of discs I threw? Were the discs varied? Did I throw all jaws discs? Did I throw lightweight discs? And which direction did I throw those? So everything you can write down about practice. So Evernote is what I choose to basically keep track of all of my practice notes. But I also will sometimes just write it down. So in Evernote, I have basically a grid that I will just make quick notes about the wind. Sort of looks like this. So if you see that, I've got in there wind direction. I make a note of which direction I threw the best from, which direction maybe wasn't as good, and then any other just tips on, hey, make sure you put a lot of hyzer on it if you're throwing from this direction, or a lot of snap. Now, sometimes I do just use a piece of paper. So let me see if you can see this. This is just a jotted down. I threw from this direction over here and made a note of the light wind. And then I just put a dot where all the discs ended up. So I threw 25 discs and then I just put a dot where they were. So I can look at this and say, okay, with the wind coming this way, I definitely had a tendency to drift discs off to the right. Right? So whatever your system is, in other words, however it makes the most sense for you to write something down and sort of do your own little, review of it, that's what's going to be the thing that works the best for you, right? If you like writing things all out in a spreadsheet and having an elaborate system, great, you should do that. If you're probably not going to dig into that, just have a piece of paper or two out there and make some notes. Write down at the end of your practice, a big thing that I like to do is just write down sort of an overall, just a couple sentences of, man, practice felt great today. I felt like I was getting good snap in, right? So I will write down and have tips to remind myself that I take because I have my phone with me and have everything in Evernote. When I'm at a competition, I may break my phone out and in there it will have some tips on which direction the wind was coming when I was throwing really well. So then I can sit there on the field and think, when the wind's coming from this way, I like to throw just a little off center and I throw it just a little to the left, get a little more snap. So all of those things are going to be helpful things to basically get you through a competition, because when you're in competition, you've got a lot of other things to think about, right? And it can be stressful and you can be overthinking things. So just being able to pull out your notes and go, well, my notes tell me this should work, then that's really going to give you extra confidence when you throw. So keeping a practice notebook, a journal. I also